Alright, pit crew, so today we're back with one of the things I've been meaning to get around to, and that is this Ford F-250. It is my brother-in-law's vehicle. He dropped it off a little while ago, probably a few weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago at the most, I think. I'm really bad at keeping track of time, but he just wants me to go over it, see if there's anything I can't fix. The interior is a mess. Let me show you guys. It is pretty bad. Parts laying around everywhere, has no radio, it's sitting right there. So it needs a lot of little work. So we're gonna see what we can get done on it today. So I was trying, looks like something was written on here, but I cannot make it out. So I don't know what it is. Someone wrote on the dust. Anyways, yeah, this is an F-250. Sadly, it's not a diesel. It's got the 5.4 in it, which I'm not a fan of the 5.4s. But yeah, so we're gonna see. Apparently he was saying it's got a possibly rear main leak onto one of the exhaust pipes. So we'll take a look at that maybe today. I don't normally work on vehicles this heavy duty, so I don't think my jack will be able to lift this. So I don't know when I'll be able to get around to that. I need to order a new jack since I'm gonna be working on more trucks anyway. Let's see, what else? I think that's about it. Before we do this, I've been trying to do more like garage stuff for beginners and stuff. So I'm going to talk about some heaters real quick. I'm sure you guys can hear it. I have a new diesel / kerosene heater, and I also have an electric heater as well. And I want to talk to you guys real quick just about the difference. So that way, if you're someone who's looking into keeping your shop warm or starting your own shop, whatever it is, that way you have something and you know what you're looking for, I guess. Hopefully that will be something that interests you guys. So we're going to talk about this stuff, the heater stuff, real quick. All right, I don't want to bore you guys. We're going to keep this short and sweet. This is a Dynaglow 400 square foot heater. It does 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 watts. You need to have at least a 30 amp breaker. Pros to this one is that it's electric. You don't have to worry about refueling it, anything like that. I saw someone do a breakdown. I think it cost maybe $1 an hour to run, but I don't know how accurate that is. That is what someone had said their rate was running just about. So it doesn't run out of fuel. The downside for me is these fans, or the blades anyway, the top and bottom, the very top of them puts out cold air. And so it does kind of suck for that aspect. But other than that, you know, fall, spring, it does really great. It's a 400 square foot heater. This is a 620 square foot garage, give or take. And so it does pretty good. Below 40 degrees, it doesn't do a great job. But again, it is underrated for the garage. So I don't blame Dynaglow for that. This is their Dynaglow. This is the lowest series diesel or kerosene heater they have. It's rated at 50,000 BTUs. It does 1,200 square feet. It is great. I love it. Downside to this is it runs off fuel. So you have to refuel it. So if you're in the middle of a project and you run out, you're gonna have to go figure that out. So that's why I have both electric and that one. It holds 5 gallons of diesel. It runs for about 14 hours. But it does really great because I can turn this on for a little while, let the air in the garage warm up, and then switch over to my electric heater. So if you guys have any questions about those, let me know. I'll have a link to Dynaglow down below, but I don't have a coupon code or anything like that. So yeah, anyway, on to the video. All right, pit crew, so it is the next day. The last batch of my car parts for now have shown up. I believe the only car part I have left to order for the Nova is going to be a torque converter, but I'm waiting. They make different sizes. I'm pretty sure I'm going to need, like, I think the 10-inch or 10.5 inch. I'm not quite sure. I've never done anything to do with the torque converter. But anyways, it is actually decently nice out here today. It's in the 40s. Which is a lot better than the 30s. So I probably won't use the big jet heater. I'll probably just use the electric heater today. But anyway, let me show you what we got here. So I've had issues with my kickdown cable and finding a bracket that is long enough or that sits back far enough. And I've been trying to go with these big, fancy, extravagant ones that look really cool. But I went with a basic one this time. This bolts onto the intake manifold and then it just slips through. And I think this should work. Try not to go too fancy, it should work. And one of the other issues I've had is I melted my brand new kickdown cable on my headers. So I did have to order another new one, so we got that. It's really long and awkward. And the last part we have here is going to be my timing gear set, which there's a brand new one on this engine, but this one doesn't. The one that's on there doesn't have an adjustable crankshaft gear. This one does all those different notches right there, allow it to sit in at different timing positions. So this one also comes with some sort of bearing, I believe. Let's see. Yeah, it's a needle bearing. It's a captured needle bearing, which I have never seen one before in my life. So I'm gonna have to do some research on that. If you guys know how to go about installing it, I believe you just send it over the crankshaft, but I don't know. This one was, I think 80 bucks rounded up. Summit Racing has some for like 40 bucks, and it's their Summit brand. But the issue, well, I was gonna end up having to pay shipping because I was under $100, and so I decided it was just worth the 80 bucks. And plus, I don't have very name brand parts. You know, I try to go, I try not to spoil myself too much. So I don't have very many name brand parts. I think the most name brand part on the car right now is the dart heads. So I thought, you know, why not? Yeah. But anyways, so I need to clean up the shop a little bit. It is a little bit messy. I forgot to put these parts back in the truck. So I'm going to take care of that, and then we'll start tearing apart the Nova. All right, pit crew, so I think I have the list. I'm probably forgetting some stuff because I know as I was making the list, there's a few things that I realized, oh yeah, I forgot that I have to do that. So let me explain the list real quick. Most of it's pretty easy. So we got a cross member that holds the transmission in place. We have a torque converter, starter. Okay, so let me explain some of these things with this real quick. So the starter, you can simply just undo the wires super quick. There's 3 wires, 2 nuts all together. So it's really simple. But I have a Pittsburgh and or Harbor Freight engine hoist, cherry picker, whatever you want to call it. And so me being me and knowing the quality of Harbor Freight, I am always really worried about having too much weight on it. And you know, this is a heavy engine, and I know it's not more than the 2 tons and stuff. And so I always try to remove as much weight as possible. So some of the things over on the list are just to make sure I'm not pushing the limits, and it's over precautious. I fully understand. But it's always like, it's never too much weight until it's too much weight. And so why not be better safe than sorry? Again, I work out here in the garage all by myself, so I'd rather not die a slow death of having an engine fall on top of me. But yeah, so okay, so starter we're gonna go ahead and remove completely. Exhaust, that's 6 bolts. Bell housing, I believe that's 5 bolts. Power steering, so this is something I had totally forgot about, and I put a question mark on there because I haven't had to remove the power steering since the initial pulling the 6-cylinder. There's 2 lines going into it, and me not wanting to make a mess because it just drains for days. You never have all the fluid drained out, and it is a pain in the butt. I'm gonna see if I can't just undo the power steering brackets and maybe sit it off to the side somewhere inside the engine bay, maybe somewhere over here in the wheel well, hopefully, but I'm not sure. So I would rather not remove the hoses if possible, but I guess we'll just have to see. Other stuff, we have drain oil. Again, I like to do it just to be safe, and plus it's kind of hard to drain oil on these engine stands because I don't have the bucket that sits right on this member or this cross T whatever, so getting a drain bucket in between there is always super difficult and a pain in the butt, so might as well just go ahead and drain it now. Alternator, not only am I going to remove it to save weight, but also I'm going to remove it because this one is shiny and I don't want to do anything that risks damaging it. It's super expensive and I just don't want to risk that. Carburetor for the lift plate, and then the fuel pump. And then of course after fuel pump comes removing the engine mount bolts. So, which I'm looking into finding some polyurethane engine mounts, but the issue is they all look like they slide into the housing that I already have, which I don't understand. So each one has like 2 camel humps almost on them, and so I don't understand how you would push them into the new ones. So I'm a little bit confused by that. So that is something I'm considering ordering while it's out. Might as well. I mean, it's got new engine mounts in there anyway, but again, I'm trying to decide. You know, it might be worth it just to go ahead and do it and go with polyurethane instead of rubber. But yeah, I think this is all doable. Again, I don't know. I may not do bell housing today because I don't want to leave this jack. I don't want to leave things jacked up until I'm able to have someone come out here in the garage to help me, because I don't want the jacks to slowly decompress over time because I don't know how long I have to wait to get help on the hood. So that's something to take in consideration for me, is I may not do bell housing tonight. But if that's all I leave off is just bell housing, that won't take me more than an hour at the most, and that is if the bolts decide to be difficult. If they decide not to be difficult, I can have them done 30 minutes at the most. But anyways, yeah. I guess I'm just gonna dive in and work on underneath the car real quick and see what I can't get done. All right, pit crew, so I'm at a point where everything's starting to cross paths with one another, and I can't finish one thing without going to do the other, and it kind of sucks because I wanted to do everything underneath the car at once and then come up and do everything up front or up top, and that's not really working for me. So I have, let's see, I have the cross member off, the starter, and the exhaust. So I have 3 things done. Those were the cross member and the exhaust were the things I don't like getting to those bolts. The cross member bolts aren't hard to do. It's just normally my jack stands, like normally I don't think through and I place my jack stands in a spot where I can't get to the nuts, and it's just a headache. But this time I thought it through when I was jacking it up, and I made it easily accessible. So those are done. The exhaust bolts are always just a pain in the butt. They get really tight from the heat, and it just makes it not fun. There's 6 bolts altogether, but that's all the way done. But I need to do torque converter. But in order to do the torque converter, I got to be able to spin the engine over. That way I can get to each of the bolts. There's 3 bolts, or 3 nuts, bolts. They're nuts and bolts, actually, now that I'm thinking. So in order to get to those, I have to be able to spin the engine over after I get each one off. So which means all this has to come off. You could bump start it, but I already have the starter and everything disconnected, and pulling it or hand turning it isn't overly difficult. I have a socket for it now, but it just sucks that I have to take everything off, which means the alternator and power steering pump will go ahead and be crossed off the list as soon as I finish these up. And then all that's left underneath the car is going to be torque converter, bell housing, and oil. And then everything else, I might, all said and done, if I'm not able to move the transmission back enough, I might have to end up pulling the drive shaft, but we'll see. I believe the first time I pulled the engine, I think I left the drive shaft in. So I should be able to do all that. We'll just see though. All right, pit crew, this wasn't supposed to be a part of this video, but since I haven't even finished editing this video yet, I figured I'd go and throw this in there. But the engine is out. I won't leave you guys hanging. I had family help me get the hood off. And then from there, it wasn't too bad. I had to take a break to go help my dad with his phone, old people stuff. Anyway, the 327 is out. I do have a busy weekend this weekend with homework and stuff. I would like to think, today's Wednesday, I would like to think that on Friday, I'll be able to come out, maybe tear it down. I don't know yet. I don't really want to leave it tore down. I don't want anything to get in there. I have all the ports pretty much blocked off at this point, but I don't want to leave anything open too long. But yeah, so at worst comes to worst, starting Monday, I'll start tearing it down and installing parts. I believe that is about it. Here's my shelf of parts. The headers are sitting on the old 6 for now. But yeah, so at this point, I apologize for whatever bad editing I had to do to fit this in there. But stay tuned, and I appreciate you guys' patience. You guys are awesome. You guys are the world's best pit crew. So I will catch you guys later, and stay safe.